Hello and welcome to a DFS Preview for the 2023 FedEx St. Jude Championship. My name is Eric, and here at SweetSpotDFS, it's all about trying to hit the optimal lineup every single week. And in these preview videos, what I like to cover are the course and tournament information, the past optimal and GPP winning lineups. I like to review the tournament prior, which was the Wyndham Championship, because I want to give you a little bit of confidence going into the bucket system for this week, how well it did last week. So those are all of the things I like to cover in these previews. Again, it all leads you to the components required to hit the optimal lineup. So that's why we go over them. Before we get into that, just some reminders. I like to do giveaways. One being a weekly and monthly giveaway, which you can see on the screen, requires you to be subscribed and basically participate on the channel. And by participating, all you need to do is leave comments on any of the videos that I post. Now, you get one free entry per video that you post on, or if you like to join me during the live chat, which I do 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on Tuesdays, you get free entries into these giveaways. Now, weekly giveaways are ran every Monday night in these preview videos. Unless I can't do it like I did the last couple weeks, then it was on a Tuesday night. However, it's usually Mondays. Now, the monthly giveaway, I do during the first Monday of the new month, which is today. Today is the first Monday. I could have done it last week, but we voted on it. The what do we call ourselves? The Sweet Spot Society? No, that was like cultish or something. I forget. But we voted to do it today, so I will do the monthly giveaway. Now, I only give away $50 up there if we hit the 600 subscriber goal, or the goal that you see all the way over to the left, and that was 600 subscribers. We unfortunately did not get there, so instead, the monthly giveaway winner is going to win a t-shirt with this logo on it. So we will run those giveaways. Why don't we just do it right now? So I have the weekly subscriber giveaway up. We had 32 entries. That means 32 unique comments on the videos, or from unique users. I shouldn't say it that way. That might confuse you. Like I said, you get one free entry per video. I think I had 6 videos out there, so the most you could put in were 6 comments. We had 32 total. There were some people that had multiples. Anyways, without further ado, I'm going to hit Y. We're going to find our winner, Josh Bennett. I know he is a co-host of the Fantasy Golf Pod. He may not want these $5. So I'll double check with him. If not, we will throw it into next week's pot and make it like $10. So I'll double check with Josh to see what he wants to do. Otherwise, I don't mind giving him $5. He probably would want a beer instead. So we'll see how it goes. But just to show you that this isn't rigged, all I have to do is just hit a command. So if I hit one and enter, we'll get a new name. So Barry, Josh, Anna Marie. We could have had those could have all been the winners, but like I said, it's random. It's a randomizer. Josh won the weekly giveaway. Now, of course, we're doing a monthly giveaway. Again, this is for a t-shirt. So we had 185 total entries this time, or for this month. So again, we hit Y and we get our winner. It's Joanne. Joanne, you always get t-shirts. You always get t-shirts. So, we'll have to figure out what you'd like from this, because I'm sure you probably have too many t-shirts, and I'm not even sure I have your size anymore. So we'll have to double check. You let me know what you'd like to do. You can leave a comment, or you can email me, or whatever you would like. If you wanted a sleeve of golf balls, I'll send you a sleeve of golf balls. They all have the SweetSpotDFS name stamped on them. If you're not a golfer, because they're really good golf balls, if you're not a golfer, maybe don't do that, because I know there's some people that follow that do like those golf balls, but it's up to you. So I want to reward you for participating on the channel. Congratulations, Joanne. Again, just to prove to everyone that it's not rigged, again, I can go ahead and throw in all these different commands, and we get new names. So congratulations, Joanne. Congratulations, Josh. Again, Josh may not want the $5, and maybe we'll put it into next week's giveaway. Now, another one that I like to do, another giveaway, is what I call more of a refund. It's a Prize Picks refund. If you sign up on Prize Picks, which is a fun way to play fantasy golf, by the way, if you sign up on that platform and use the promo code SweetSpot while also putting $20 in your account, you're going to get your $20 back from me. There's a link in the description. I'll send you the homepage here. All you got to do is go to sign up. Once you hit sign up, the SweetSpot promo code will already be populated in there. You just got to fill out the rest of the information and then put a deposit of at least $20 in there. It'll be your way of helping me and my way of helping you. That way you can play for free, plus Prize Picks matches your deposit up to $100. So that 20 turns into 40. And it really just costs you that initial sign-up information as well as the initial $20. Now, you can go ahead and put $100 in your account, and that will double to $200. You're still going to get $20 back from me. So completely up to you. Again, there's a link in the description. And talking about links in the description, I have one for a cheat sheet that you guys can follow along with throughout this video. So I'll throw it on the screen. Click that link. It'll send you to this page. You can use this however you like. I have filters all over the place. So you can use the DraftKings filter and the Dream Sheet. I also have the bucket system for the FedEx St. Jude. So you can go ahead and put the filter on there too. So while I'm going throughout this video, everything that I'm going to provide, you can follow along with me. Again, there's a link in the description. And of course, if you want to make this information yours, or if you want to be able to manipulate it however you want, just go up to the file menu and make a copy. That way it becomes yours. You get a copy of the spreadsheet that you can do whatever you want to it. I leave it as read only because I don't want bad actors to come in here and mess it up for everyone. So if you do want the ability to manipulate or add your own data or information, however you see fit, go ahead and hit that file menu and make a copy. And then tomorrow I will have an optimizer ready. I'll go ahead and throw something on the screen that we'll use last week's optimizer just to show you what that looks like. If you want access to this, you got to be subscribed to the channel and you got to participate. So leave a comment, let me know that you are subscribed, and then email me right there, SweetSpotDFS@gmail.com. I will send this to you when I create it for the FedEx St. Jude, and I require the tee times from the PGA Tour before I even start building the optimizer. So once I get that, which is usually around Tuesday, like around noon, I can provide this for you. Again, this is loaded with the Wyndham Championship information. Once I get tee times for the FedEx St. Jude, I will update this for only FedEx St. Jude golfers. I'm just showing you what it looks like. This will utilize the bucket system. Everything with the SweetSpot process will be in the optimizer. So if you want that, if you want to use it, again, be subscribed to the channel, comment on any of the videos that I post so I can see that you are subscribed to the channel, and then email me at sweetspotdfs@gmail.com, which you can see right there. Okay, those are all of the giveaways. Let's go ahead and start this preview. We're going to start with the course and tournament information. When I start course and tournament information, I like to go with the tournament fact sheets. You can find this at the gcsaa.org. Just scroll down to the bottom. You'll see like the media room or something that says media. Find the tournament fact sheets there. What I like about these is it gives you a lot of information. Obviously, you can tell what tournament it is, which golf course is being used, the location, Memphis, Tennessee. You can see the par, the yardage over here. Sometimes they have the stimp meter. This time they did not. And of course, you can see all the course statistics. You can use all of this for data points in your research. Now, for me personally, yardage matters, par matters. I think to some extent, location matters. Of course, golf course matters for like course history. But one of the most important things to me is turf grass. You can see it is Bermuda on everything except for fairways and tees. You can see it's zoysia grass. Now, I don't have any data that goes with zoysia, but if I pull up the cheat sheet again that you can follow along with in the description, I have Bermuda as the grass that is present. Now, the Bermuda stats here, I have events, overall Bermuda, and top 10 percentage. That is their average or their percentage of finishing inside the top 10 on Bermuda golf courses. This data all dates back to 2013. So if you're wondering where those stats come from, it goes all the way back to 2013. Now, to some of these, for some of these golfers in the field, it doesn't really matter that it goes back to 2013. Adam Scott, Justin Rose, older golfers, it will matter. But I think it's a fair, I mean, my data just goes back to 2013 just to begin with. I think that's fine. And honestly, if Justin Rose pops a little bit because he has data that goes back that far, I think that's totally okay. Because at least we know he's good, or he has been good on Bermuda. And then I also have another stat that says last year Bermuda. This is just 365 days ago to this day. What is their Bermuda stats, or what is their average finishing position? You can get that right there. So that is all available to you on the cheat sheet when it comes to, like, you know, the course fit, essentially. You have course history, again, TPC Southwind, and then we have Bermuda grass. Once again, I do not have Zoysia grass information, so keep that in mind. Also, if you want to use Course Architect, now Ron Pritchard, I don't really remember any of the other golf courses that he has designed on tour. I don't even know if he has. But if you wanted to use that as a piece of, or a research point, you certainly can. Or a data point to research, you certainly can. But those are kind of like the main points that I like to look at. Again, par, yardage, you can use location. I think that's fine. The golf course, obviously. But most important, the turf grass. I think those are important pieces to use when researching. Now, when it comes to the tournament, again, you can find this on the cheat sheet. I keep track of the strength of field points. Now, it's a little bit different than what the old OWGR used to do. If you are unfamiliar, OWGR revamped how they rate strength of field. Now it's based off of this weird point system that personally I don't care for. At least I haven't been sold on it yet. I kind of like to see the bigger numbers, you know, the disparities, because like I don't know what the OWGR is right now for, or the strength of field in the new system. I forgot to look before jumping on, but they have it like 12 versus 10 versus 9 versus 8, stuff like that. It's something similar to that. It's hard to get a gauge off of that unless you really understand the scoring system. Whereas like 7-10 last week at the Wyndham Championship, I think it was like 280 something. So you can see there's a huge jump. We can tell that this is a tournament that has a really big strength of field. So that's what I like to use. I like to use, because then we can also gauge it based off of older events. I think the highest I've ever seen was like 815 or 820, something like that. So 710 is pretty good. And I could actually be wrong on that. Maybe it was 850. It was the PGA Championship at Kiowa Island, the one that Phil won. So strength of field. Now, the other pieces to understand here, it's the top 70. This is the first leg of the playoffs. It's top 70 in the FedEx Cup playoffs. I heard, again, this is a heard thing. I didn't read this. I don't know if it's exactly true. I heard top 50 make the cut at this event. But I don't know if that was someone being confused, as at the end of this event, the top 15 FedEx Cup points then go on to the next leg of the playoffs. But old cut scores used to be top 65 in ties. So I guess, I mean, and really when I tell you though that piece of information, I would say you could use this as research, but whenever is there a top 50 in you know, for a cut, where the top 50 golfers make the cut? You probably have to look at like the Masters, stuff like that. I don't think it's all that relevant. And I really don't care about quote unquote cut makers at this event. I'm just trying to find birdie makers. I'm trying to find top 10 finishers. That's what I'm trying to do. That's exactly what the sweet spot process tries to do. Find top 10 finishers. So I personally don't care, but it's just data to provide you. There's 70 golfers in the field. Maybe it's top 50 that make the cut. Maybe it's top 65. Just be aware of that. If that's something that's important to you, just, you know, research it, double check on it. I apologize. I don't have that information for you. But it is a limited field. So building lineups, it's going to be a bit creative, and I think the bucket system will help us with doing that. So that covers the course and tournament information. We can move on to the next part, which is pass optimal in GPP winning lineups. So when it comes to pass optimal in GPP winning lineups, we go to 2017 to find our first optimal versus realistic lineup. I don't have a GPP here, but your optimal in 2017 left $1,900 on the table, whereas the realistic optimal only left $300 on the table. And your optimal for 2017 used a $9,300 Daniel Berger, $6,400 Wee Kim, $7,900 Charles Schwartzel, $8,600 Rafael Cabrera Bello, $9,500 Billy Horschel, and $6,400 Chez Reavie. Now, leaving $1,900 on the table is pretty unrealistic. I would never advocate for leaving a lot of money on the table. So when we go throughout the optimal lineups here, if there's a lot of money left on the table, just ignore it. That's why I kind of create this realistic lineup. And if you follow this channel long enough, you know I like to advocate for this kind of start. A 10K golfer, a 9K golfer, an 8K, two 7Ks, and a 6K, or more commonly referred to from me as the 10-9-8-7-7-6 approach. The reason being, 25% of GPP winning lineups have that makeup. 11% of optimal lineups also start that way, and they are the leading, or that start is the leading, what would you want to call it, salary structure lineups for each of those categories. So your top GPP winning lineup is the 10-9-8-7-7-6, same two as the optimal lineup. And then for the next two, they're very similar. 10-9-8-7-6-6 would be the next one, and then 10-9-8-7-7-7 would be the next one. And I think when it comes to GPP winners, that's about 40% of your winning lineups. And for optimal lineups, it's like 25-30%, something like that. Now, in the future, when I get a website up and running, I will show you this information, so it's not just hearsay. You know, you're not just listening to me say it. You can see it for your own good, and you can also research it too. But I do have a video out there. You can check the link down below. It is does projected ownership matter? If you check that video out, at the end of it, I do go over more common salary, the most common salary builds. And I also provide this in the Fantasy Golf Pod video that I did with Chad Eckert when it came to strategy. And I think we did that last fall, if I remember correctly. I think if you just go to the Fantasy Golf, actually, never mind. I'd have to find it for you guys. But if you know how to research it, perfect. If not, I will try to link it down in the description. Anyways, so 2017, 48,100 was your optimal. Your realistic was 49.7, and that started with a 9K, a 9K, 8K, 8K, 7, 6. So to go along with kind of that 10-9-8-7-7-6 method, I like to say you can make two substitutions. So obviously we don't see a 10K, but we do have two 9Ks. So sub 110 down to a 9, that's one substitution. And then you only see one 7K there, but you see two 8Ks. So we obviously sub 1.7 up to an 8, and we still have the 6K, we still have the 7K, and that's how we kind of get around to that. That won't work all the time, but it's pretty darn close. I mean, it's like 90% or more. In 2018, we have an optimal lineup that used up 49,200. That's really difficult to get to as well, leaving $800 on the table, but it's way more realistic than leaving $1,900 on the table. So I kind of like 49.2 is my bare minimum. I don't think you want to leave more than $800 on the table. And even in the FedEx Cup playoffs that are coming up, when the fields get smaller, I still stick to that. Because believe it or not, when I go through those past optimal GPP win lineups for those tournaments, you're going to see the same thing. You're not going to see a lot of money. Like when people say, oh, this is a good time to get creative with your lineups because the likelihood of duplicate lineups is going to be really high. Yeah, but if you have the optimal lineup, you have the best lineup. You know, like if you're going to dupe an optimal, that's the only way you win the most amount of money you can possibly make. So keep that in mind. Your optimal in 2018 had Dustin Johnson, JB Holmes. All right, let's say a different way. $11,700 Dustin Johnson, $8,000 JB Holmes, $7,700 Andrew Putnam, $7,000 Richie Wierenski, $6,800 Stuart Sink, and $8,000 Chris Kirk. So we don't have a 9K golfer there, but what we do have 2 8s. So we make one substitution, 1 9 down to an 8, and that's largely due to Dustin Johnson winning at $11,700. It's a very big price tag for one golfer, and that's why we don't have a 9K golfer up there. But also, I don't see a 9K golfer even inside the top 10 or the top 20. So it was probably going to be Dustin no matter what. But yeah, you still have a 10, 2 8s, 2 7s, and a 6. In 2019, your optimal lineup left $400 on the table, and this is our first glimpse of a GPP winning lineup as well. Your optimal started with an $11,600 golfer. So keep that all in mind, because we're kind of venturing. You can kind of see we're getting bigger price tags here at the top of the leaderboard. $11,000, 600. Brooks Koepka, $8,200. Webb Simpson, $7,600. Mark Leishman, $7,700. Matthew Fitzpatrick, $7,400. Ian Poulter, and a $7,100 Bubba Watson. So that's a 10, an 8, and 4 7s. So that's not well, first of all, it's not common. It does not follow the make 2 substitutions, because I usually count substitutions just jumping from one salary tier to the next one and then to the next one. So going from a 9 down to 2, you'd have to drop down to an 8 and then down to a 7. That'd be 2 substitutions, and then 1 6 up to a 7. So that would be 3. So it doesn't really quite follow it, but still, it's very close. So an $11,600. Most of the reason why you have to do 4 7s is because you had to use a large salary like that. And this is actually a lot similar to what we have this year, because in 2019 we had 63 golfers. We were supposed to have 64, but Shane Lowry did not show, or he withdrew before the start of the event. So this is going to be very similar. So if you're wondering if you should play an $11,000 or a $12,000 Scotty Scheffler, or I should say $11,000 John Rahm. So far, we've looked at 3 years, and 2 of them had an $11,000 golfer as the winner, not just only in the optimal lineup, but as the winner as well. So we could say cream rises to the top, and this is a very close. You could correlate this tournament to this year's. I should say, I'm sorry. Let me reword that. In 2019. That tournament, you can compare it to this year's tournament because it's about the same field. It's in the playoffs, just like it was in 2019. So, actually, I think that was a WGC event. Never mind. It's a little bit different, but close to. In 2020. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even say the GPP winning lineup. So the GPP winning lineup had those 5 golfers that I already stated with the optimal. 11,600 Brooks, 82 Webb, 76 Mark Leishman, 77 Matt Fitzpatrick, 74 Ian Poulter, and then $7,500 Matt Wolff. Again, 10 8 and then 4 7s. So now we can move on to 2020. Here, our optimal lineup only left $100 on the table, but it started with a $10,700 golfer. Had a 10-7, 9-2, 8, and another 9. To go along with 2 6s. So just to repeat that, that's a 10, 2 9s, an 8, and 2 6s. That's pretty uncommon, if I'm going to be honest with you. Very, very uncommon. Very stars and scrubs. And I believe that too was a WGC event, if I remember correctly. I don't think this was part of the playoffs just yet. I'm pretty sure it wasn't, because this was coming back from COVID. But we did have around the same amount of golfers that we have this year. This one had 79 golfers in it. So another limited field event with a high price guy at the top. Not the highest price guy, but a high price guy. And then your $3 birdie winning lineup had a 10, a 9, a 9, $6,600, $6,200. And then we scroll down a little bit to find our $7,500 golfer there. So just to repeat, that's a 10, 9, 9, 7, 6, 6, which is very unique as well. In 2021, our optimal lineup left $600 on the table. And I believe this was the first week or the first year we did the FedEx Cup playoffs. It seems that way because the Olympics were the week before. Let's just double check. I don't know. I think this might be another WGC event. It must have been. And I'm sorry I don't have that information in front of me. I totally forgot to pull it up. But you guys can obviously search for it pretty fast. Either way, very similar field, 6,500, or not 65, 65 golfers, not 6,500, but 65 golfers were in this field. And it did not start with a 10K golfer, believe it or not. Your optimal had $8,300, $9,400, $6,900, $7,600, $9,000, and $8,200. Just to repeat that a different way, $9,400, $9,000, $8,300, $8,200, 76, and a 69. So believe it or not, you can make your two substitutions that way. You can go from a 10 down to another 9, so that's how you get your two 9s, and then you can bump one of your 7s up to another 8, and that's how you get your two 8s. So 9-9, 8-8, 7-6. Your GPP winning lineup left $100 on the table, and it used those top three guys: Answer, Matsuyama, Burns, $9,000 Paul Casey, $9,200 Daniel Berger, and then a $7,100 Billy Horschel. So that's actually 3 9s, an 8, a 7, and a 6. So far when we've looked at this, we've already went through 5 years. 2 of those years we had one of the highest priced guys win the tournament. 2 other years we had very balanced builds that took down the optimal lineup, as well as the GPP winning lineup. And then 1 year, I guess it was more just, it was stars and scrubs as well. So 2020 was stars and scrubs. 2019 and 2018 were like kind of traditional builds with your high price guy. 2017 was more balanced for your optimal, but that left a lot of money on the table, so hard to get to. So very, very, very unique ways of building lineups. And then if we look at last year, 2022, we left a ton of money on the table for the optimal lineup. Too much, in my opinion, way too much. So the optimal had $9,500 Will Zalatoris, $6,100 Sepp Straka, $6,300 Lucas Glover, $7,200 Brian Harmon, $8,700 Colin Morikawa, and $6,500 Trey Mullinax. That's 3 6K golfers, 1 9K, 1 8K, and 1 7. That's impossible. Don't do it. Not a good lineup build. Of course, it was your optimal. Now, your GPP winning lineup used up $50,000 of the salary, and it was a 9K, an 8K, make that 2 9Ks, and then 2 8Ks, a 6K, and a 7K. So I guess just to repeat that, that's 2 9s, 2 8s, a 7, and a 6. So that used up all $50,000 of the salary. That's a very balanced build. So again, balanced builds so far kind of have the lean here when it comes to pass optimal and GPP winning lineups. A more realistic lineup left $400 on the table. Start with a 10K golfer, a 9K, 2 8s, a 7, and a 6. That way it's still kind of following the 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6 approach, but we are subbing 1 7 up to an 8. But we are starting with the 10K golfer. And I believe that realistic, that scored what, 622? Yeah, that beats the $5 GPP. So if you're wondering if that one was better than the GPP winning lineup, it was. So very, very, very interesting lineup builds, lineup situations. I think we had, there was 120 golfers last year in this field, whereas in 2021, there were 66. So 2021, 2020, 2019, and let me double check. Was it 2018 as well? No. So 2019, 2020, and 2021, I think are probably going to be your closer related events to this year's event, because in those other ones, it was like 120 golfers or more. Whereas the ones that I pointed out were like 70 or less. So when I look at the salaries for this year, you know, you have 12-1 Scottie Scheffler, 11-5 Rory, and 11-1 Jon Rahm. Just by salaries alone, I got no issue playing any one of those golfers. In fact, I kind of like each one of them. I wouldn't so much say equally, but I like them for one of them to finish in first place, second place, or third place. So they're going to be top 3. You know, some of these other events where we had some of the top price guys, let me go ahead and throw some filters on here. So yeah, like Colin Morikawa in 2021 and Xander. I mean, we could always make questionable, you know, remarks. Are these 3 golfers in 2021 the same as Scotty, Rory, and Jon Rahm? I would heavily disagree. I'd say no way in hell. Of course, I don't really remember what 2021 was like, but I wouldn't have put Colin Morikawa at the top. Despite obviously winning an Open Championship, finishing 4th at the US Open, as well as 4th at the Olympics, I still wouldn't have. And same with Xander. You know, I would have probably put Rory up top, you know, just because it's Rory, and probably DJ, if I'm being honest, because of course history with Dustin Johnson. So yeah. Let's see, what was in 2022? Who was our top price guy last year? Oof, it was Rory. And then it was Scheffler. They both missed the cut. Xander, Cam Smith. That's a lot of 10K golfers. Jon Rahm finished 5th. He was in the realistic lineup, but not the optimal or the GPP lineup. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. Let's see here. Let's check 2020. Obviously a 10.7 or $10,700 golfer won, but you had Rahm. Okay, so actually the more that we kind of go into this, I know it's very short sample size. I'm sure Brooks in this year was probably the top price guy. That he was. I mean, everyone here that was top price finished pretty good. There are some decisions to make. I guess I'll let the bucket system kind of work its magic and try to figure out, you know, how many 10K golfers we want, and of the 10K golfers, who do we want? But I guess just by eyeballing it, I'm not quite sure. Monday qualifiers. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Adam Scott, $11,000, finished 10th in 2017. So it's all over the place. I guess that's the best way to kind of talk about this. It's all over the place. I have no idea, just by eyeballing it here, where we should start. I guess, I mean, just pointing it out, I'm not afraid to start with the top 3 guys. No way. Like, I will, with the most confidence, start with one of those guys and have no issues with it. So yeah, that will conclude the pass optimal and GPP winning lineups. Let's go ahead and get into a review of the Wyndham Championship. When it comes to the review of any tournament that I like to do, I just start with the bucket system. I don't really want to review the tournament. Lucas Glover was your winner. I didn't watch a lot of it. I certainly didn't watch any of it on the weekend. I was in a golf tournament of my own. I did watch Thursday, Friday, and I couldn't tell you anything that I learned. Like, I just don't remember. So we're going to start here with the bucket system. And really, the only column that you should be paying attention to is the success column here that I've highlighted. Now, you're going to see a Y or an N. Y means yes, N means no, and that determines was it a success, like the bucket. Now, what I am comparing that success to is my projections. So I have projections here. In this column here, it says min projection. This is our minimum. We always round down. So whatever that number is, we round down. And then in this column, the max projection, we round up. So if, just for example, this last year 1 column, our min was 1.05. That rounds down to 1. And our max projection was 1.75. That rounds up to 2. Now there's a caveat here. If that max projection is not greater than 2, our min has to be 0. And the reason is I want a 2-point buffer. 2-point buffer between the minimum and the max. I have learned that that is the perfect buffer that you need. Those are the perfect projections to always have a 2-point difference between the two. So if, again, this isn't greater than 2, we always round down, always with the minimum. Now, in the case of like this bucket here, where it says 0.23 to 0.38, well, when we round down to 0 and we look at our max projection, it says 1, we can't go further down than 0. So then our max will always be 2. So the worst projection will always be 0 to 2. So just keep that in mind. And to determine if this was a success, we look at how many golfers finished inside the top 10 for each of these buckets. And if that number fits within the projection that we have, it's a success. Simple as that. So in this first bucket, you can see there's one inside the top 10. Perfect. Now, the next one's actually really interesting because we had 3 golfers that finished inside the top 10. Our projection was 0 to 2. Well, that doesn't, that's not a success. If this bucket or if this column here, the top 10, if this is outside this range, then we look at how many golfers were actually in the optimal lineup. And if that number is within the projection, then it was a success. Don't really look at this column here, the SSO, that's the sweet spot optimal. Just know that it's these 2 columns that determine if this bucket was a success or not. And as we scroll through this, you can actually see all but 2 were successful. So 34 to 36 buckets, that's pretty good. I do like to build the best lineup you possibly can using the sweet spot process. That's what I call the sweet spot optimal. I usually compare that to the GPP winner. If the sweet spot optimal does beat the GPP winning lineup, then the sweet spot process was 100% successful. Despite, like, as you can see here, 34 out of 36 buckets were successful. So still good success rate, just not 100%. Now, before I actually do review the optimal versus the GPP versus the sweet spot optimal, I do want to go over marquee tee times because that's also included in the sweet spot process. So if you're unfamiliar with this segment, basically what I do is I look at every group that are paired together Thursday, Friday. I add their sweet spot ranks, and whatever's the lowest, I rank them the best. So it's a rank order of the best groups in the field. And of course, they're all paired up in 3s. So I've highlighted 3, each team, each group, basically. Now, here's the rule. You don't want to pair up in your golf lineups, in your DFS lineups. You don't want to pair up 2 golfers from the same group in your lineups. And I say that because dating back to 2019, the 2019 PGA Championship, 90% of optimal lineups did not have golfers paired up together in the marquee tee times. And that's how long I've been tracking this, a little bit further back than the PGA Championship. So take that as you will. If you don't care, that's fine. But just to note, as you can see, these little black tick marks, they indicate optimal lineups. And guess what? There were 3. The other, I forgot to mention this. You want to select 2 to 4 golfers from the marquee tee times and none of them playing with each other. And there you go. We have 3 of them here. Russell Henley, Webb Simpson, and Billy Horschel were all in the optimal lineup. Another thing to look at are the green salaries. This indicates the sweet spot optimal. So I had Russell Henley and JT Poston. So this follows the sweet spot process. We had 3 golfers in the marquee tee times that were in the optimal lineup and they weren't playing together. So that fits the rules for the marquee tee times. And of course, you can see the sweet spot optimal is highlighted as well. So let's go ahead and let's take a look. We're going to look at the optimal versus the GPP versus the sweet spot optimal to determine, was the sweet spot process 100% successful? Your optimal lineup left $2,200 on the table and it scored 693 points. Basically, it was the top 6 golfers in on the leaderboard. That was Lucas Glover, Benny Ann, Russell Henley, Billy Horschel, Webb Simpson, and Michael Kim. If you want to call out the salaries, it's a 10K, an 8K, 3 7s, and a 6. By the way, Michael Kim, as you can see, scored 101.1 or 101.5 points. So too did Charlie Hoffman. They're both $6,700. Charlie is also included in the optimal lineup. So you could have swapped Michael Kim and Charlie Hoffman and you'd have got the same result. So just throwing that out there. Your GPP winning lineup, this is kind of cool. It's all bunched up. You had Lucas Glover, Benny Ann, and Russell Henley. So 10, 8, 7. Then you add Steven Yeager, $8,900, and then 2 other 7K golfers. So that's a 10, 8, 8, and 3 sevens. That used up all 50,000 of the salary, and it scored 660 points. Now, if the Sweet Spot Optimal scores more than 660 points, it is a 100% success rate. I say that because it follows the buckets completely. It follows the marquee tee times completely. It follows this whole process that I talk about during the preview videos as well as the strategy videos. So if we can take down a GPP, then it's a success. And of course, the old moniker is, let's aim for the optimal lineup, because if we miss, we might hit the GPP winner instead. So the Sweet Spot Optimal left $600 on the table. It used Lucas Glover at 75, Benny N at 84, Russell Henley at 10.2, JT Poston at 9K, Brendan Todd at 7, and Michael Kim at 6. So just to repeat this from the past optimal and GPP winning lineups, that follows the 10-9-8-7-7-6 approach. Used 49,400 against $600 on the table. Again, it only has to beat 660 points. It scores 669 points. So Sweet Spot process, 100% successful. Got to throw that nice in there, of course. Forgot to do that. But yeah, if you followed the Sweet Spot process, you could have gotten yourself on those golfers and taken down a GPP. The $5 drive the green. So 25,000 could have been yours. You would have started with those golfers. Personally, for me, I anchored around Sung J M. I just had the most confidence he was going to finish inside the top 10, and that was pretty darn close. He finished 14th. So unfortunately, starting with Sung J did not really net me the best results. I was in it in a couple contests, like winner take alls, but not super great when a lot of those winner take alls used Russell Henley and things of that nature. So also, just to throw something out there, I keep track of ownership, like after the fact. These aren't projected ownership numbers. Your optimal lineup. So if we just go top down ownership percentage, look at how many were in the GPP winning lineup. This is the top, let's see here. What would this be? Top 26 owned golfers. Now, of course, it's cherry picking. It goes from 8% up to 34%. Now, Denny McCarthy. Hey, if you're like, I am not going to play Denny McCarthy at 35% ownership, and that's the hill you're going to die on, you were successful this week. But if you're like, you know what, I want a 10K golfer, but I don't want the highest owned 10K golfer, then you would have missed out on Russell Henley. Simple as that. Oh, by the way, JT Poston at $9,200, he was in the Sweet Spot Optimal. He was the 4th highest. Brendan Todd was the 6th highest owned golfer, and he was also in the Sweet Spot Optimal. So it's hard just to fade chalk to fade chalk. You know, I think one of the better messages that are sent out there is DGen75, who's like, sometimes you got to play chalk, sometimes you don't. Now, obviously, it's not clear what you should do, but, you know, maybe Denny at 35% is a bit crazy. But, of course, here at Sweet Spot DFS, the optimal lineup doesn't care about projected ownership. Doesn't even care about ownership in general. It just cares about how you build your lineups together. It cares about what golfers from which buckets you put together. And that's the bottom line. Does not matter with ownership. I just wanted to throw that out there because I noticed this week there were a lot of high ownership numbers up there inside the top 10, top 20. So anyways, that's going to cover a review of the Wyndham Championship. I'm going to just take a sip here. Give me a second. I should get like a sponsor or something. That'd be sweet. All right. We review the Wyndham and the Sweet Spot process there because we're going to go right into the bucket system for this week's tournament. So let's do that. All right. We're going to buzz through this bucket system portion of the preview video. If you want to follow along with me on the cheat sheet, again, there's a link in the description. Just go to that cheat sheet, go to the bucket system, go ahead and throw a filter that I have up there, the bucket system filter, and follow along with me as I go through this. But like I said, let's fire through this. Again, I'm going to put a filter and we're going to talk about the last year buckets. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the bucket system, I do have a video in the description that explains all about it. Go check it out. It's not a very long video and it's pretty detailed. We're going to start here with the last year one bucket. Now, again, I want you to pay attention to the projections, the min, the max. We always want to round down with the min and always want to round up with the max. So when it comes to last year ones, the projection is 1 to 4. That's how many golfers that I am projecting to be inside the top 10 from this bucket. There are 16 golfers in that bucket, and it looks like 30% of the strength of field points go towards that bucket. Now, again, if you want to follow along with me, you can check out who these golfers are just by going ahead and putting a filter on this and going to the last year stat column, clearing out all of the numbers there and only selecting one. These are your last year ones. These are golfers who top 20'd last year. Now, the projection says they're going to be somewhere between 1 to 4 inside the top 10. Just to give you a little bit of confidence in selecting a golfer from this bucket, I mean, it's almost a 90% frequency rate, meaning dating back to 2013 or 2014, really. My data goes back to 2013. There weren't last year stats in 2013 because then I'd have to keep track of 2012 stats. You see the paradox that happens there. So in 2014, we had last year stats from 2013, and that's when we went from 2014 and on. From that moment forth, only 1 year were there not a golfer, or was there not a golfer from this bucket inside the top 10. Only 1 year. And also, when there were salaries for DraftKings, only in one of those years did we not have an optimal lineup golf, or a golfer in the optimal lineup from that bucket. So keep all of that in mind. I think, obviously, when you look at the golfers in this bucket, it's pretty easy to be comfortable playing golfers from here. I mean, like, if you wanted to start with a 10K golfer, it's either Jon Rahm or Viktor Hovland. If not, you've got a good plethora of golfers in the 9, 8, and 7K range to fill out your lineups. So I think that's fine. I think if you wanted to start here with anchoring your lineups, I think that's perfectly fine. And if you want to do one of these 10K golfers, again, I think it's perfectly fine. I guess if we wanted to, we can go back to previous years and see what those top price guys did. Well, when it came to the golfers that finished inside the top 20 the year before in the 10K range, only Cam Smith finished well, and that was 13th. That was in 2022. In 2021, you had all these golfers here who top 20 the year before who did not finish inside the top 10. Only DJ finished 10th. And that's not an optimal lineup, guys. So I don't know how to feel about this. I guess in 2020, we had JT who finished first, that finished 12th the year before. So that works. Simpson, or Webb Simpson, that's a pretty good finish. I guess he's not in the 10K range. Rahm and McIlroy, though, not super good. 2019. Oh, this was a WG. This was the first year there was a WGC event. So the year before this, it was an actual event, like 156 golfers or something like that. Not everyone played it. So you had DJ the year before, finished 20th. I mean, I should say he finished 20th that year, but had a win the year before. He's the only guy that had a top 20 the year before. 2018. Yeah, it's not looking good for our 10K golfers that had a top 20 finish. Phil, 9th place finish. Is he the best one? Oh, JT. JT was the best one in 2020. He won the tournament and had a 12th place finish the year before, and he was 10,700. But other than that, none of our 10K golfers who had a top 20 finish the year before finished good. Like, had a good result at all. So maybe that's our first telltale sign to kind of avoid Jon Rahm and or Viktor Hovland, which is really, really interesting. I don't know. I mean, hey, 1 to 4 is the projection, and it's not looking good for the 10K golfers, just from past performance trends. Last year, 2 bucket, we want somewhere between 0 to 2. Last year, 3 bucket, we also want somewhere between 0 to 2. Same applies for our last year 4 bucket. Last year 5 bucket, I would say is 0 to 3. And here's why I'd say it's 0 to 3. Because when you look at our min, it says 1, so we go down to 1. Our max is actually over 2.04, but I always kind of refer to this column over here that says max projection in the miscellaneous info box. This is 1.90, and this is my conservative max projection. So if this is less than 2, that automatically means the minimum is 0. And the max, we still round up to 3. So this will be a 0 to 3 bucket when I build my optimizer. And then also 0 to 2 for golfers who did not play in last year's FedEx St. Jude. So I would implore you all to use the cheat sheet, check it out, go through all the last year buckets, try to figure out with the projections which golfers you like, which golfers you want to anchor around, and go from there. Again, I'm going to go through this quick, so I'm not going to go through every single bucket. The next one I want to talk about is the last week stats and the buckets that follow with those. So these are golfers. This would be the golfers who played at the Wyndham Championship, and do their results matter at this event? Well, having a top 20 finish the week before, it's actually not terrible. And the projection is 1 to 3, but again, our max projection over in this column says it's less than 2. So really this projection is 0 to 3. Just to throw these golfers on the screen. Again, you want to make sure there are no other filters in here. Clear out the numbers in the last week column and then just select one. This is how we get to our last week 1 golfers. And these are all golfers who top 20'd at the Wyndham Championship. Starts with Sam Burns, then Sung Jae, Russell Henley, so on and so forth. The projection is 0 to 3. Now, if you really wanted to get technical, it is 1 to 3, but I am going to use this as my projection. I think 0 is the right number because we only have a 70% frequency rate. By the way, this goes back to 2013. So 10 years worth of data. 7 of those years, we did have at least 1 golfer from this bucket inside the top 10, but that's not a 100% frequency rate. It's still a good number. We also have a 50% frequency rate when it comes to optimal lineups. So optimal lineups go back to 2017. That's 6 years of data. And in 3 of those, we had at least 1 optimal lineup golfer in it. And the other 3, we didn't. We had 0. So there isn't a ton of confidence from this bucket. But I imagine if you're shot like Harden, you are going to be playing Sam Burns no matter what. So I actually don't mind some of these golfers. Now, 0 to 3, I'm probably going to stay on the low end of that projection. I don't think I want to play 3. I'm leaving up to you guys. If you do like 3 of these golfers, by all means, play them. But obviously, don't play 4 or more. I'm going to stick to 2 or less for me. Going through the other projections for golfers who played in the Wyndham, nothing's greater than 2 for your max projection, and everything is 0. So it's 0 to 2 for anyone else that finished at the Wyndham or who played in the Wyndham Championship that is in the FedEx St. Jude Championship. To no surprise, golfers who did not play last week have the highest projection because it has your best golfers in it. In fact, it has nearly 75% of the strength of field points that go towards it. Very high frequency rate. Not such a high success rate, but this includes every golfer that has ever been in this bucket dating back to 2013. So it might not be fair to use, if I had a way to go back to just 2019 when it became a WGC event, I'd probably use that. Moving forward, we probably would have different numbers and the projection might be a little bit different, but unfortunately, I do not have that access or the accessibility to do that. So anyways, this bucket is the biggest projection, and technically how this would read would be 3 to 6. So you want at least, well, I should say you want at least 3. I think no matter what, there will be 3 golfers from this bucket that will finish inside the top 10. I think it's pretty simple to say that because you have your best golfers up here. You have all 10K golfer. All of the 10K golfers are in this bucket. So it's your last week sixes, golfers who did not play last week. Scheffler, Rory, Rahm, Hovland, and Schauffele are up there, but then you have basically all your 9K golfers and most of your 8K golfers. So keep that in mind. I think it's going to just be easy to start here. And if you want to play all 6 of your golfers in your lineup from this bucket, by all means do so. I think it's fine because no other bucket is saying you want to play at least one from the last week stats. So keep that in mind. Again, I think 3 will be inside the top 10. Pretty darn easy. I wouldn't be surprised if we see 5 or more. And really, I guess we could probably see up to 7. So if you were shaky with confidence in playing any of these golfers, don't be. This is where you want to probably start building your lineups from, or maybe find a smaller anchor bucket to start with. But don't be afraid to play golfers in this one. Moving on to our course history buckets. So we can use course history this week because TPC Southwind has been a staple. And I'm only using St. Jude events. This once was a regular field event, then it was a WGC event, and now it's a playoff event. I'm still going to use course history the same that I would at any event. Obviously, the fields have changed year to year, but course history is still course history. If you've played the event enough times or you play the golf course enough times, you're gonna figure out where to miss it, where you want to hit it, how to make the putts here, all that good stuff. That comes with course history. So the top bucket, or not the top bucket, but course history 1 would be having your best course history. We have 6 golfers that have an average finishing place of 20th or better here. It's a very high success rate of finishing inside the top 10, nearly 25%. So you think about that, 6 golfers are in this bucket. At 25%, that means 1 or 2 golfers are, I wouldn't say destined to be inside the top 10, but it seems that way with performance trends. Now the projection is 0 to 2. And that has a large effect of strength, or a large reason to that is the strength of field points that go towards that bucket, very low compared to the other buckets. But it's a 100% frequency rate. So let's just take a look who these golfers are. Again, clear out any of the other filters that you have and go to course history 1. And this is what makes it interesting, because if there's a 100% frequency rate so far, does it break this week? With Colin Morikawa, Tom Kim, Sepp Straka, Sahith Theegala, Denny McCarthy, and Lee Hodges. Now, just to throw some perspective out there, Tom Kim has 1 event of history. It's a 13th place finish last year. Sepp Straka has 1 event of history. That's a 2nd place finish last year. Sahith Theegala has 1 event of history. That's a 13th place finish. So too was Lee Hodges. Now, it wouldn't be surprising if 2 of those golfers did finish inside the top 10 or even inside the top 20. However, this is a very, man. I'm conflicted because I do like Sepp Straka this week, but of all the golfers that are in this bucket, Lee Hodges and Sepp Straka are and Sahith Theegala are the lowest confidence players that I have, despite not even seeing much from Colin Morikawa over the last 7 weeks. Like, I don't think there's really anything impressive that he's done. Yeah, no, Colin Morikawa is a very bad average finishing position. So too Sahith Theegala. So yeah, I don't know. Not a huge vote of confidence when it comes to this bucket. But hey, 100% frequency rate, it's worth mentioning. Very high success rate. So maybe that might play a little factor into success this week. Most of your projections are going to be in the course history 2 bucket. That's 2 to 5 for your projections. 23 golfers there in that bucket. Course history 3, 1 to 3, and we have 20 golfers there. It's where the majority of your strength of field points come from. So if you're following along on the cheat sheet, just, you know, take a look there. Course history 2s. There's 20 some golfers here. You want to play somewhere between 2 to 5. So we have our 10K golfers, our 9K golfers, some 8s, some 7s, and a couple 6s. I don't think this would be a bad place to start building your lineups from. And just remember, the projection is 2 to 5. And that's just to finish inside the top 10. That doesn't mean you want to select up to 5 golfers. Because let's be real. If the 4 golfers in the 10K range and above finish inside the top 10 and they fulfill that projection, you can only play 2 of them. You can't play 3 of them. So 2, I think, is a good number to start with, and then you go from there. And remember, just because, you know, 2 of those 10K golfers finish inside the top 10 might not mean you want to play them, because an $11,500 Rory McIlroy in 9th place probably is not going to win you a GPP. It might help you cash, but it won't win you a GPP. The next bucket would be your course history 3s. This one's a little less, or the projection is a little lower, 1 to 3, with pretty good reason. Some interesting names, by the way, especially the one that's at the top, Scotty Scheffler, and then Ricky Fowler. And then it drops into the 8K range and drops fast into the 6Ks. Maybe it's where we start with our 6Ks. Maybe we start with Scotty. I don't know. It's really up to you guys. And then the other buckets are 0 to 2, but there aren't a lot of golfers in those buckets. So those top 3 buckets are the ones you want to be looking at. Now, when we get on to the recent form buckets, it's very similar to the course history buckets. 0 to 2 for recent form 1, 2 to 4 recent form 2s, 2 to 4 recent form 3s, and then 0 to 2 for the rest. I had to just double check as I was reading that off that there weren't any differences with the conservative projection versus the one that I just said for each of those. So recent form 1s, we can go through this really quick. 0 to 2, yeah, really good golfers up here. I think having one of them in your lineup is fine. 2 of them is okay. Probably don't play 3 or more, especially because of the price tag. Price tags that go with each of them. Recent form 2s start with Victor and Xander, which are kind of interesting. Again, it's 2 to 4 for the projection of finishing inside the top 10. I think you can start with 2 golfers somewhere in here. And remember, Victor was not in one of those friendly buckets that we looked at. I can't remember which one it was. Last year ones, I want to say. Yeah, last year ones being in the 10K range. That's what we saw. Wasn't a very good omen. So Victor would have been one of those guys. I actually don't mind going to Xander. I'm not sure about Tommy though. But then we drop into the 8s and then quickly into the 7s. So my boy Shot Like Harden probably sees Sam Burns and is like, yeah, this is the time I play him. I wouldn't mind that. I also don't mind Tom Kim. There's a lot of good golfers in this bucket. And remember, it's 2 to 4 is the projection. I don't want to go to this one. Let's go to recent form 3s. This bucket starts with John Rahm. Then it's Patrick Cantlay, Jordan Spieth, Collin Morikawa. Now, Rahm also in that last year 1 bucket in the 10K range. I actually don't mind. Like, if I have more trust in a golfer that's kind of in a bad performance or like a bad combo bucket or combo of buckets, I'm pretty okay with John Rahm, honestly. So yeah, I think that's fine. But this one is also a bucket that kind of drops from the 9, 8s and then goes right into the 7s and 6s. This projection also is 2 to 4. So again, if you want to start here with building lineups, I don't see an issue with that. And then just remember, each of the other recent form buckets are 0 to 2s. So moving on to salaries. This kind of gives us an idea of how many golfers from each salary do we expect to be inside the top 10. 1 to 3 salary 1s, which are your 10K golfers. 0 to 2 9K golfers. Technically 0 to 3 8K golfers. So remember when we went through the pass optimal and GPP wheel lineups for the St. Jude? We saw one instance where there were 3 8K golfers inside the top 10. 3 8K golfers actually in the, I think in the optimal or in the realistic optimal. So it is definitely doable to do it with 3 8K golfers. This week, I'm not sure that I really advocate for it, but you certainly could. And then we have 1 to 3 7K golfers, which is really close to 0 to 3. And then we never really ever play more than 0 to 2 6K golfers. It doesn't matter if it's in the top 6K or the bottom 6K range. So starting out with a 10K golfer, an 8K golfer, and a 7K golfer seems smart, just based off the projections, but I'll leave that up to you. The last bucket to talk about are the strokes gain buckets. Now, if you're unfamiliar with how I do strokes gains or strokes gain buckets, check the bucket system video in the description. I explained it all there, and pretty quick too. But we don't have a strokes gain 5 or a 6 bucket. Like, there are no golfers that represent those buckets in this event. Everyone is between the strokes gain buckets of 1 to 4. And it looks like 2 to 5 are projected to be inside the top 10 out of the strokes gain 1 bucket, then 0 to 2, 1 to 3, 0 to 2. That's very interesting. Because I don't think we can actually roster everyone that's in the strokes gain buckets. Now, if you're following along with me on the cheat sheet, again, link in the description, sort by strokes gain, top to bottom, A to Z. Everything is color coordinated based off the strokes gain buckets. Very interesting. Okay, whoa. There we go. I was like, where are all our 10K golfers? So when it comes to strokes gain 1, remember this bucket was a projection of 2 to 5. There are 3 10K golfers. Rory, Rahm, Xander. Now, if we want to go with the trends, 10K golfers that had a top 20 finish the year before, Jon Rahm's not in a good combo. Now, he could pull a JT from 2020 and, you know, where JT won the 2020 St. Jude and had a 12th place finish the year before. But for everyone else that was in the 10K range that had a top 20 finish the year before, they were not in the optimal lineup. They also were not in the realistic optimal. They weren't in the GPP winning lineup. Some of them failed to even finish inside the top 20. Or there were years where there were none inside the top 20. So maybe it's the reason not to play Jon Rahm and maybe get on someone like Rory or Xander. But you have a good choice of 9K golfers, a really good choice of 8K golfers, and not too shabby 7 and 6K golfers. Oh, I'm sorry, 1 7K golfer, and that's Keegan, which actually I don't think I care to play. I might just ignore him completely. Those 6K golfers are interesting, though. And then just remember, every projection underneath that, except for your strokes gain 3, is 0 to 2. Which I say every, and that's like just 2 buckets. Strokes gain 2 and strokes gain 4 are 0 to 2. Strokes gain 3 is 1 to 3. And that, I mean, there's a small number here for strokes gain 2. 0 to 2 is your projection, and for good reason. Strokes gain 3, on the other hand, is a little bit larger, and this is a 1 to 3. Actually, it's a 0 to 3 projection, right? No. It is a 1 to 3 projection. So maybe finding one guy here to anchor around your lineups. I mean, it goes from $12,100 Sky Scheffler down to $9,000 Colin Morikawa, and then $8,400 Hideki Matsuyama. Perhaps you like Cam Young, which I know a lot of people do. I mean, this is a great time to get to like Tom Kim. Tom Kim at $7,800 with his course history. It just seems like that's a slam dunk play. And he had been playing pretty good leading into, he tweaked his ankle or something at the Open. Still finished well, still played through it, but took some time off. And he was the defending champion for the Wyndham Championship, and he did not show up at the Wyndham. So maybe it's bothering him more than we know. But either way, it seems like a good spot for him. And a lot of good 7Ks and a lot of good 6Ks. And then your strokes gain 4 are, I'm not going to say bad golfers, just bad off the tee, but really good putters. That's what these guys are. And you want somewhere between 0 to 2. So you could handpick your golfers using the bucket system within the cheat sheet. You certainly could do that, or you can wait for the optimizer. I'll throw that on the screen. I already did it in the beginning of the preview video, but you could also just use the optimizer, or join me tomorrow, Tuesday at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, where I actually build lineups live. If you want to give me 2 to 4 golfers you want to build lineups around, it utilizes the bucket projections right in this little section here. All the bucket projections I just went with, those will all be here. I'll also have the marquee tee times, and then we can just let the optimizer do its magic, see which golfers it chooses. It will use all the projections. Like, if we want somewhere between 1 to 3, it'll make sure it selects at least 1 and no more than 3. So that will be tomorrow in the strategy video. We will use that optimizer to go to build us lineups that follow all the bucket projections. But again, you want this information for your own. Check out the link in the description that says cheat sheet. You check out that cheat sheet. I have the bucket system information up here that I just went over. You can also do all of the filtering here in the dream sheet. Find the golfers you want to play, and yeah, as easy as that. That's going to cover the preview, though. This is actually a lot shorter than usual, which is a good thing. I like when it's a little bit shorter. That way, it's not so much, you're not seeing a lot of fluff. But anyways, I think that will cover everything. Again, let's do some giveaway reminders. So, if you're not yet subscribed, please do so. Being subscribed and participating on the channel gets you free entries into the giveaways that I like to run. I like to do a weekly and a monthly giveaway. You can see the monthly one on the screen. The weekly giveaway is nearly the same. I give away $5 every Monday just for those that participate on the channel. So be subscribed, comment so I know who you are, and then I know that you're subscribed to me. And then I will obviously run a giveaway like I did earlier in this video to give away $5. And of course, all those entries go towards the monthly giveaway. If we hit the subscriber goal all the way over there to the left that you see 576 out of 600, I'll give away the $50 up there as opposed to a t-shirt with this logo on it. So up to you. For those that are watching, if you're not yet subscribed, doing so just helps us all reach that goal and run this giveaway. If you are not on Prize Picks, I have a link in the description that'll get you to the homepage. Once you hit sign up, the Sweet Spot promo code will already populate. If you put $20 into your account when signing up, I'm going to give you $20 back. That way you can play it for free. Prize Picks will match your deposit up to $100. Your 20 turns into 40. Just takes that initial sign up information with that initial deposit. That's it. Every Friday night, or every Friday, I should say, they have a protected flex. Sorry, I messed that up. Protected flex that you can put your $20 in. If your picks don't hit, you get your $20 back. Super simple, super easy. So again, there's a link in the description there. You're getting $20 back from me as long as you put $20 in your account, but you can utilize that deposit match up to 100 however you see fit. And of course, I mentioned the cheat sheet. There's a link in the description for that. And that's all that I have for you. So join me tomorrow for the strategy video. I will be building lineups. We'll go over marquee tee times. We'll go over anchor buckets and try to hone in on the golfers that we want to try to hit the optimal lineup. But for this one, we're done. So thank you for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.